We have an incredible show for you today. On today's show, we have Kyle Scott, Vice Chair of Harris County Republican Party. And there's a lot of stuff happening in Harris County today. You're going to get a full update on everything happening in Harris County. Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Good. And thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
And we also have Alexandria Butler, congressional candidate for District 9. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it this time.
Awesome.
No.
Well, we got a lot of stuff going on. It is definitely not boring in Harris County. So we're going to start off by talking about something that everybody's been waiting for, something that everybody's been asking our local bureaucrats, our local little kings for, the local little dictators. Everybody's been wanting an end to the injustice that is climate change. So our hero for the day is Rodney Ellis.
Woo.
You may know him as the consigliere of Harris County, the man that does the deals in the back rooms. That's the word, that he does the deals in the back room, but that's all about to change because he's calling for transparency. So, we got to give it to Rodney Ellis. He's giving us what we want, right? And with that being said, we're going to introduce Rodney Ellis here, and going to put my mic over here to my computer and see if this technology works. But here we go. Rodney Ellis introducing his what he believes to be, something that's really pertinent for Harris County. God, these little bureaucrats drive me nuts. Okay, here we go.
The climate crisis is among the most urgent and complex challenges we face today. It's important that every community has access to clean air, resilient infrastructure, and equitable solutions to climate change. So today, Harris County is introducing our first ever climate justice plan, a community-driven initiative to address climate change while prioritizing equity, transparency, and community well-being. In 2021, I pushed for the creation of the Harris County Office of Sustainability, and I'm so proud to see our work culminate in the Climate Justice Plan. This plan reflects the voices and visions of hundreds of Harris County residents and will establish Harris County as a leader in equitable climate action in Texas and beyond. I want to thank Director Lisa Lynn from the Office of Sustainability, the Coalition for Environment, Equity, and Resilience, as well as my staff for making this dream a reality. Let's honor the vision of Harris County residents by committing to bold action today.
And I'm going to change that one last phrase. Let's honor the vision of Karl Marx with that plan.
Ooh.
I would like to nominate Rodney Ellis as Texas Commie of the Month.
Woo.
Texas Communist of the Month,
Second.
Rodney Ellis.
Second.
We got a second? Okay. Well, I think he's going to get that vote.
Spicy.
So, I don't know. Like these commies just keep coming, The one thing I'll say about him is that I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I believe that we're at the beginning of the end of the Democrat Party.
Yes.
Okay, it is a dying institution. These are ideas that once were at the forefront of debate, and I don't believe anyone ever asked for climate change. No. It was put on us.
Yes.
It was a forced agenda brought to us by the political elites, by the establishment, and it was put to us when we didn't ask for it, and we were told that this was our medicine.
Absolutely.
But I think that it's safe to say that it's one more dying idea of the Democrat Party. And in order for institutions to thrive, they thrive on ideas, yes. A foundation of ideas. And this boondoggle scam is fully exposed, and he's beaten a dead dog, in my opinion. And that's my first question for you two. What do you guys think? Do you think this is the issue that people of Harris County are asking for?
No. County government's in charge of three things, right? Mm-hmm. Former Commissioner Jack Hagel used to say this on a regular basis. It comes down to the 3 Ps.
Yes.
Parks, police, and potholes. Everything else is outside of our jurisdiction.
That's right.
We need to take care of the parks that the community has set aside. We need to make sure that we have a safe community in which our people can go to work, we can go to school. Yes. And we need to maintain our roads.
Yes.
That's the extent of county government.
Yes.
It should not be about redistributing wealth where we're giving this universal basic income. It should not be about ensuring clean air quality. When China is bringing 10 new coal plants a month online, what's little old Harris County going to do? Not a darn thing about it. The truth of this is,
come on now,
because the ARPA money has run out, Rodney Ellis is looking for a new grift.
Wow.
Yep. I feel the same way. Honestly, it's like a money laundering scheme. He says he pushed, because it's interesting. When I was reading about this, I was thinking in my head, and that answered my question. What he said there, I was saying, why does Harris County need an office of sustainability? You know, that sounds like, you know, you're gonna launch this new committee of individuals to basically get the money from whatever you're getting ready to ask the government for, because that's what's getting ready to happen. You're getting ready to ask the government for a bunch of money. And so now you have hired these people to make sure that that money never reaches the community, that it gets to them first. It gets to them first, and they can do whatever they want with the numbers, you know, and say, okay, well, we're reallocating these funds to the district. That's a lie. That is an absolute lie, because how much money actually makes it to the people?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, when the COVID money, when it came through these counties,
that's a good example.
You know, you talk to
That's
people.
That's an excellent example.
And they will tell you off the record, there is no way, there was so much money coming from the COVID money.
Absolutely.
There is no way it wasn't hitting the bank accounts of these bureaucrats.
Right.
And in Fort Bend, the COVID money dried up, and all of a sudden they're pushing a record-setting bond.
Yes.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
I think they're crackheads. And they need their next
Fix.
They need their next fix. Okay, so you're saying in Harris County, money dried up. Can you expand on that?
So it was the COVID money, right? We get this one-time hit. And what they did, instead of addressing things that could be addressed with one-time hits,
Right.
they took on long-term obligations, such as opening new staffing positions. So instead of firing those people, or they would start projects that would need follow-on money. This is like somebody who gets an income tax check back and decides to go out, use it as a down payment on a car that they can't afford with their next paycheck.
That's exactly
That's
what that is.
exactly what Harris County did. And now they're looking for another way to keep additional funds rolling in instead of making the necessary cuts that are needed.
Right.
Last year, they raised the tax rate 16%. First time in September with 8% under the guise.
What tax rate?
The county tax rate.
The county tax.
And then voters approved another 8% when they went back to the polls in November.
Yes, they did.
So they are flush with cash.
Yes.
It's not a revenue problem. It's a spending problem.
It's a spending problem. That's why they have a $230 million deficit in Harris County right now. And they're getting ready to ask for more money. And this is part of that. So they're trying to find different ways, like you said, to grift and get that money. But they're still going to spend more. They have a spending problem. They don't have a we need money problem. They have a spending problem. They have spending habits. It's like the woman that, you know, like you said, gets their tax check, and then they're buying on Amazon all the time. They have a spending problem. They can't stop. They have to figure out a way to hustle that money and keep that money coming in.
So you're saying Rodney Ellis isn't concerned about the temperature of the earth?
If he was concerned,
Rodney Ellis loves the earth.
Then he would go to India and China, where they are the biggest, the biggest polluters in the world. He doesn't care about this world, and he doesn't care about homelessness. He said having a home is a right. That is not a right. That's definitely not a right.
Yeah,
having a home.
That's part of the Karl Marx Communist Manifesto.
Good.
I mean, if you look at the verbiage,
I wanted to say it, but I didn't want to get ahead.
If you look at the verbiage. Of Rodney Ellis's statement, and then you match it up to the 10 staples of the Communist Manifesto, abolition of property rights. That's one of Karl Marx's ideas. Right. Heavy progressive income tax, government control of factories and agriculture and labor and farms, and having regional planning and control the education. That's all Karl Marx's commie ideas.
Yes.
And I think Rodney Ellis is the smoothest salesman for Karl Marx.
I mean, when you listen to what he said, you can nod along. I mean, it's like he picks his word nice. And he's so smooth. But that's the problem with the liberal ideology and the conservative ideology.
Absolutely.
And this is why it's tough to introduce it, particularly to the youth.
Yes.
Because the liberal ideology is so nice.
Right.
And the conservative ideology, at first glance, sounds pretty hard.
Yes.
It's about self-reliance. It's about hard work.
Yes, grit.
But the long-term payoff, the reward that you get from life through a conservative life is much more fulfilling. The other one is hollow. and it cracks.
It creates emotional serfdom. These individuals are going to be depending on the government for everything now. And the thing is, the money is not always going to be there. And so these individuals, it's like it creates this level of codependency with the constituents in the area. And so now when you take it away, when the money stops and stops and dries up, what happens? You create brats. Now they've been entitled to this. You're telling them they are entitled to a home. They are entitled to have the same amount of money as somebody who's worked all their life for it. You're telling them that they're entitled to this. So when the money dries up, what happens?
So
Melee.
Here's how they ran the scam in Fort Bend to get their bonds approved, right? They roll out these ideas, like it's all community-based ideas, right? We're going to improve the infrastructure. And what happens in Fort Bend is everyone sees the rapid growth of our county, and everyone knows that these roads are getting overused.
Absolutely.
And so when, our county administration comes forth and says, look, the reason we're doing this record-setting bond is because of all those reasons. We're going to apply the funds correctly. But we have a guy, the county, I apologize, I don't know his position, Bill Rickert. And Bill Rickert breaks down exactly what all parts of their scam, right?
Absolutely.
And so basically, what they do by getting, they tell you it's a 10-year bond, but Bill explains that it's going to be used up in probably 3-4 years. Right. And then we still have to pay for the debt. Then they're going to come back, have all their excuses. They don't care at that point.
They're
They're
want more
entrenched
money.
figures.
Right.
They have all the lobbyist arms that are funding their campaigns. They're entrenched. They're going to come back. They're going to have all these excuses for that the money got spent, and then they're going to do it again.
Right.
And what's going to happen is Fort Bend's going to get weighed down like Harris County
Absolutely.
is. Okay.
Yes.
And so the truth. But how did they pull off the scam of getting a 16% tax increase in Harris County? I mean, I would never give these people more money.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
So first, I want to shout out Bill Rickert, County Treasurer for Fort Bend.
Thank you for correcting me there.
Bill's a great guy.
Yeah.
Good guy.
So we have really a cap. Every taxing entity has a cap that you can't go up by more than 3.5% without taking that out to the voters. But there was a loophole in that if there's disaster relief efforts, you can increase it beyond that. Yes. So what they did is they said, well, we're going to pass an 8% tax rate increase because we need disaster relief. Now, the first problem with that is because they're not bond funds, all of these funds are fungible. So because they say that they're raising it for disaster relief, doesn't mean that they have to spend it on disaster relief. And then there was another 8% tax rate increase on the ballot in November of 24. And it passed 52% in Harris County.
It did.
So people are getting exactly what they asked for.
They are. The other way that they do it and is exactly what you said. In that proposal, he talks about asking for more money from the government through FEMA. And that's what you were saying, the emergency funds. So that those funds, when they create these Office of Sustainability, and then they have these nonprofit organizations that their buddies run. Okay, these are buckets that this money gets poured into. So this nonprofit is helping get these people into homes. It sounds good on the surface. On paper, it's going to look great. It's going to sound great. But this is how they steal the money, is through nonprofits. They pour that money from disaster relief into these nonprofits that their friends and people they somehow know that are able to get these bids in and find out that this money is here. That's how they get this money.
Well, on the African continent right now, the African countries are kicking out the NGOs.
Yes.
And I've always asked the question, do the NGOs want poverty so that they always are employed? They're always the helping hand.
Yes.
It's really about the employment of the NGOs.
Yes.
And so people now in Africa see this development of kicking out the NGOs as a liberation of that continent.
It absolutely is.
But what I see when we see us sort of transforming into a third world country in America. Yes. I see these NGOs, charitable organizations, begin to rise, and it's almost like the cancer is in Africa and it's spreading to America, and it's like they always want to be the helping hand that feeds us.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, and that's you had brought this up earlier, which is, and that's a fundamental issue that's began essentially within the Great Society under LBJ.
Oh, yeah.
The problem was when you tell people they can't do something,
yes.
we'll do it for you. That soft deposit.
It is.
Despotism that
Yes.
comes in, excuse me.
Yes.
And the idea behind that is the government's almost like a vampire, right?
Yes.
It doesn't come in unless it's invited.
That's right.
And people have been just taking what's been offered to them
Yes.
and then inviting more and more of that in, and they become enfeebled and dependent upon that.
Right.
And what we're talking about within Rodney Ellis and with each of these new programs, what this leads to, aside from this trickle-down effect of the grift and the corruption, is an explosive growth within county government.
Absolutely.
And we've seen the size and the budget of Harris County government exponentially increase under the regime of Lena Hidalgo.
Right.
Right? Now we have this Office of County Administrator. I
Yes.
think David Berry has a salary of over $500,000 a year.
Yep.
This is a position that did not exist prior to Lena Hidalgo.
That's right.
And what they're trying to do is centralize all of the commissioners'
Yes.
functions under one administrative body, which then
right.
requires us to hire even more
Even
people.
more people.
Because the commissioners aren't going to get rid of their people.
Right.
But we have one holdout in Harris County,
Right.
but unfortunately he needs more help, which is Tom Ramsey, right?
Right,
Tom
right.
Ramsey is the voice of reason on that commissioner's
Yes.
board. But unfortunately, he's outvoted like 4
Big
to
time.
1.
Bigly.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that situation in a minute. I want to read some of these quotes. So Rodney Ellis tweeted this, his plan for social justice for climate change. And so what I want to do now, literally the comments, it's not 9 out of 10 that are telling him to buzz off. It's 10 out of 10. So I'm going to read some of these. Okay, here's one woman, Michelle. She says this: 900 murderers on bond, and you're bragging about climate justice.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, I got this guy right here. F off with this climate nonsense. He doesn't say F off. F off with this climate nonsense. Stop creating the drainage problems. Stop cloud seeding, chemtrails, weather modification. Stop cutting down trees for windmills and solar farms, and fix the effing potholes in this dang. And I'm sitting.
They went off.
And stop letting criminals out of jail. You are one of the main causes of most of Houston's problems. That guy, man, he really let him have it.
He did.
How do you think he feels?
Yeah. Can you tell us how you really feel?
I think he's joyful.
Well, I mean, first of all, okay, let's just talk about the true transformation that's happening. This guy went there, right? He went with the taboo conspiracy theories. He says,
Right.
First of all, stop creating drainage problems, to your point, right? Solid, on point.
Yes.
Then he says, stop cloud seeding, chemtrails, and weather modification. Now, every single one of those ideas, and we don't need to get into this now, but they are becoming legitimate.
Right. They
Every
are.
single one of them. I hear them in corporate meetings. I hear them. I hear people on the side are talking about this stuff. We could go on and on. I have a whole argument on weather modification.
Weather modification and geoengineering.
Stop cutting down trees for windmills and solar farms. What are the environmental implications of that? Do you guys ever think about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean-
I lived in Kansas for quite a while. There's a lot of those windmill farms. You'll if you actually pull over, walk alongside there's a lot of dead birds. They fly right into those things because there's like a reflection. I think it interferes with some of their navigation. The birds, you'll see dead birds laying everywhere.
Yeah.
It stinks. Those things. I really don't. They're an eyesore.
And if we think about the entire supply chain it takes for, a green transformation,
Right.
we have to strip mine rare earth minerals
Yes.
in countries far, far away from us.
Right.
We extract those, we break them down
Yes.
through other poisonous chemicals that then run
Lithium,
off into
cobalt,
the streams and the water.
Yes, all of these things.
Then we put them on cargo ships that are
Yes.
burning fossil fuels to get them to our shore.
Yes.
When they're manufactured through traditional fossil fuels,
Right.
they are then, as we've all seen, put on the backs of 18-wheelers
Right.
burning diesel fuel
Right.
to take them out to the middle of nowhere where they just stripped
Right.
all of the natural vegetation
Right.
to then put these up just so they can kill birds.
Right.
And then once they fail, because they eventually fail, and by the way, we lube these things with oil.
That's right.
And then once they fail, they don't degrade.
They don't,
So
ever.
we just fill up landfills
Landfills.
with these things.
Yes.
The entire concept, when you look at the entire supply chain, even if you were to believe that climate change existed and there's a climate crisis and we need to move on from fossil fuels,
Right.
This is obviously not the answer. They're doing more environmental harm
Yes.
than Exxon ever dreamed.
Right. It's idiocracy. There's a movie that was put out years ago by Mike Judge called Idiocracy. And I actually fear that we're there. Like, they were at the point where they were no longer using water to make crops. They couldn't make crops. They're trying to figure out why. They've got wind farms everywhere. They're trying to grow crops with like Gatorade type stuff. And this guy comes in and he's like, why don't you use water? And they're like, the stuff in the toilet? That's how, they're so stupid by this time. Like, they've been dumbed down. Half of them couldn't read. And this was supposed to be a movie, but it's almost a documentary at this point. The people have been dumbed down so much they don't actually think these things through. What you just said there was like cognitive thought and process, right? If we do this, then this happens. If this is happening while this is happening, this is how analytical minds operate. But these people have no type of thought processes. They just say, well, we're being transparent. We could focus on the potholes, which is, what you're dealing with every day, but we want you to focus. They're pivoting. They don't want you to see this over here. They don't want you to talk about this. And actually what's getting ready to happen, they're going to start talking about race. And I keep predicting this. I keep trying to tell everybody we're in an election cycle. So the whip is getting ready to crack with the Democratic Party. Plantation, I mean. So this is how they use these codependent programs, sustainability, climate change, DEI, to keep the people dependent on their daddy government. So then they can crack the whip of racism and say, look, the Republican Party doesn't care about you because you're black. Or because you're Latino. Look at how they don't want you to have a home. Having a home is a right, and they'll start chanting it. They'll pay people to start talking. You don't want us to have a home because we're black. It's going to turn racial very soon. I promise you. It's getting ready to flip. The race issue is how they keep them bound in emotional serfdom. They keep them bound. They crack the whip of racism. That's what's getting ready to happen. All this is gearing up to that, so that the Republicans, when we stand on our issues, they're saying, They don't want you to have a home. They don't want you to have clean air. This is how they're pivoting this message. So I want us to get ahead of that and understand that mentally. This is what's getting ready to happen, especially in my district, District 9. Al Green is a black man. People think he's actually doing something for the district just because he's black. Literally, they think this. They have no idea who he's in bed with. They have no idea how he makes his money outside of his $170,000 a year salary. They don't know or understand what these roles are. So when Rodney Ellis gets up and says all these great swelling things, it sounds great to their ears because they're already codependent. So it sounds like, oh, daddy's going to give us more stuff. Oh, thanks, daddy. That's what it sounds like to them, even though he knows in his heart of hearts, yeah, he'll probably get a bunch of money from FEMA. And yeah, they've got a spending problem. He does not care about the people. He does not give a damn, excuse my language, about these people. If he did, then he wouldn't have opened up an office of sustainability. And then there's 3 more environmental offices under that with different employees that are probably very highly paid. Like you started the show, all these bureaucrats are getting all this money. All these non-governmental entities are getting all of this money, but the people still can't drive to work because there's potholes on the highway.
All right. So I want to read this next comment. This is from Patriot. He says this: how much money is going in your pocket for this? We Texans are not interested in your scam. I want you to think about this. All along the idea is if our government did its dutiful job,
right,
and the potholes were filled,
right,
and they weren't, raping us with taxes,
right,
to fill the potholes are filled at a costly, at a reasonable cost,
right.
And imagine if we had a policing apparatus that was actually effective.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and here's the point I'm trying to make. Because I agree with this guy, Patriot. I think money's going back into Rodney Ellis's pocket.
Yes.
Okay?
You're darn right.
That's why he's selling the scam. There's Rodney Ellis, there is no law enforcement that's going to go after him or look at him, and they have it so well hidden under so many covers that you can't. But could you imagine if we turned our policing apparatus around on our own government?
Right.
They have the policing apparatus focused on us all day long for anything that we do wrong.
Right.
Can you imagine if we turned it around? And imagine if Rodney Ellis had even a thought that, I wonder if I can get in trouble for this.
And he's so tied in, and he has such a stranglehold within the Democrat Party in Harris County.
Yes.
That when Kim Ogg decided to go after Lena Hidalgo for the corruption, they made sure she was defeated in her primary.
Oh, they made absolute
And now
sure.
he has his buddy Sean Tier in office.
Yes.
So the DA will never go
after him.
Rodney Ellis or Lena
Very
Hidalgo because
establishment.
they learned their lesson.
They did.
And what we've seen now, even with the county attorney, Christian Menifee, he automatically resigned from his position of county attorney when he decided and filed to get into the CD18 race. They have, Commissioner's Court, has refused to accept his resignation. So we have a county attorney who's also running for Congress, but isn't doing his job as county attorney, but is cashing county checks
Right, I
for
was gonna
serving as
say,
county
is
attorney.
he not getting paid?
Because they don't want to accept his resignation. Let's just keep this office how it is so that nobody's looking at us.
Okay, so I want to change gears a little bit here.
Wow. We could talk all day about
Yeah.
that. I tell you
Yeah,
what.
no, because you mentioned Kim Og. And the one thing about this show is that we have people on this show that are not agreeable, okay? Not for the sake of being argumentative, but I mean not agreeable when things go against the people's interests.
Right.
Not agreeable, where these are the people that come on this show are people that are slightly contentious
Right.
when things need to be contended with,
Right.
right? And I just realized this trend on the show. We are regularly bringing those type of people that have a little bit of fight in them.
Right.
And that's the kind of people I like. And, okay, so we're going into a political season that's going to be epic.
Yes.
And I'm referring to Steve Toth, state rep, versus Dan Crenshaw. Okay, so Dan Crenshaw is the career rhino. Okay, John McCain passed the baton to Dan Crenshaw, and Dan Crenshaw has run with that. From the time that he berated the kids at University of Houston about 5 years ago out of nowhere.
Yes.
So he goes at U of H, gets on a stage, and just starts. There was a group of young Republicans there, and he just starts thrashing these guys. These are really, and I mean, I know some of these kids, right?
Yes.
They're good people, and so right there, that was the first thing that we noticed with Dan Crenshaw. He's establishment, he's crony. Whereas Steve Toth has brought the message of liberty since the first time he stepped into office.
Yes.
Okay, so now here's my question, right? Because again, what this show is challenged with, we have opponents that basically say, no, you should settle on the lesser candidate because they're more agreeable, they're more winnable, they have a better chance of winning. Don't take any risk, right? And I like risk.
Me too.
Right? And I say, no, you throw the Hail Mary pass, you go for it. Now, I say that when what we've watched over the past 4 years is us throw the Hail Mary pass, catch it in the end zone with the election of Donald Trump,
Right.
the re-election of Donald Trump,
Yes.
the successful defense of Ken Paxton,
Yes.
the defeat of J.C. Jeton,
Yes.
the defeat of the Texas Rhino House. In other words, we've cleaned house, and with the dirty dozen, it's like dirty half dozen, dirty 3 or 4. How is that argument still alive? That going with the more agreeable, slightly leftist candidate is possible? I mean, can anyone explain that to me?
I think it's cowardice, honestly. I think they want to go so far and not yet far enough. Everybody can't be a hero, but the problem is there's a complete lack of risk taking and just too much traditionalism. And people get very comfortable where things are at and very complacent, but we're kind of living in a climate, climate change, climate that is shifting. Okay. People don't think the way they did before COVID. COVID changed a lot of people's minds. Not only that, it's still changing minds because, we're dealing with the after effects of the vaccine. And so when people see their loved ones die, that actually pushes them over to the right a lot more because then they're like, those people were right. There's people coming out saying, I have to, say sorry. I've had family members even come to me recently and they're like, you were right about this. I feel bad that I pushed this on my family. So what we're seeing is the tide is changing. And when people are stuck in traditionalism, they cannot see that. It's kind of like the difference between being religious and spiritual, right? A religious person is stuck and rooted in this tradition. They want things the same as they were 1,000 years ago, right? And so when things start to shift and people start to break free of these boxes and these compartments, people that are stuck in tradition can't break out of that mold. They struggle with that. And so what it's going to take is renegades and people that are visionaries, people that have literally kind of been in the wilderness, so to speak, kind of like a John the Baptist, where you come out, with full momentum, full energy, and you're telling these people, this is why you're a snake. This is why you're a viper. This is why you're done. This is why you're over. This is why I'm here.
I like it.
You have to.
Okay, real quick, I want to say something, Kyle. Okay, so there was a guy named Jameson who ran against Crenshaw. What's his name?
Jameson Ellis.
Jameson Ellis. Mm-hmm. And I would say compared to Steve Toth, he's slightly a no-name. Okay? No, I don't mean anything to go, because he's a hell of a fighter. Okay? And with less of a name, less status, less awareness on Jameson Ellis, he ran campaigns time and time again against Dan Crenshaw with the sole purpose of just taking that guy out. And he did it, and he cut deep into Crenshaw's leads. And with that being said, how do you see the race between Steve Toth and Dan Crenshaw?
If I made a living predicting the outcome of political races, I would be living in one of Rodney Ellis's shelters. But
having a home is a right.
So, right, and I want to build on your point a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So if our government functioned the way it was supposed to,
yes,
which is essentially to stay out of our lives,
right?
The government exists to solve problems of collective action when those problems need to be solved.
That's right.
When the family can't solve it, the families come together to form a clan.
Yes.
When the clans can't solve a problem, they come together in full town.
That's right.
And so forth.
That's right.
So what we should be left with at the national level are interstate highways and a national defense.
Right.
Right. But the problem is that our government is not functioning the way it should.
No.
And it's gotten so bad
yes,
that we are calling for bold action.
Literally, it's needed.
This is what has brought Trump to the forefront,
yes,
is because people have recognized that the government is so out of control that the same go-along-to-get-along crowd is not going to do it.
No.
Incremental change,
yes,
minutiae and piddling them around the margins is not the way to get us back on track, but it is going to require bold and decisive action.
Bold and decisive.
So when we're looking at CD2, it's going to be a bloodbath of a primary.
I love it, man.
It's
I can't
going,
wait.
And
it is going to be awesome.
And I know
Super fun.
primaries take resources, and I know that primaries take attention away from other things, but I do think iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
And you know what? If Crenshaw wins, that's because there was a well-fought race and the people decided. Right. And who's to judge the people of CD2 on what's best for them?
Right.
If Toth comes out and wins, then the people of CD2 have decided this is what we think is best for us. And after the primary, this is the important part to remember.
Yes.
This is when we pick our team. We have picked our team. Let's all get on board behind this person,
Let's
whether
all,
we voted for him or not. And let's carry them to victory in November. If we have a problem with them by the time next primary comes around,
get them out.
Well, then let's go run again.
Right.
Well, I want to say open invite to Steve Toth. We want you on the show.
Yes.
We get thousands of viewers on this show. Bring your ideas here. Let's have the discussion. Guys, I got a really good article I want to share with you, and this one is going to make your blood boil, okay? Texas scorecard. Harris County bureaucrats among America's highest paid government employees. 9 county employees now make more than the President of the United States, and 45 make more than cabinet secretaries. Goodness gracious, how do I get my resume in there? Harris County's top officials are among the highest compensated government employees in America, with department heads earning more than the U.S. president's salary of $400,000. Okay, listen to this, guys. I'm going to read these names, call these people out. Leah Barton, Cypher Rahman, Christina Peterson, a guy named Menon, Roberto Trevino, Jesse Dickerman, Daniel Ramos Santana. Daniel Ramos Santana, budget director, is paid a salary of $411,278. Listen to this one. This guy, Sindhu Menon, director of Universal Services, got a $72,000 bump in pay, up to $456,976. Oh my goodness. Christina Marie Peterson, flood control district director, got an $83,000 increase. It says she makes 456. There's so many numbers I'm getting tripped up here, man. 456,976, up $72,000. She makes $456,000. I mean, this is absurd.
Tell them to do what Trump did and don't take a salary. Take $1. I think he's required to take $1.
Whoa.
He donates the other amount every quarter to a different nonprofit, but not his buddies, obviously.
What if we got a county judge in there that actually did what Trump did and started firing people? Put them all in street. But anyways, tell me what you guys think about these salaries.
Well, I'll tell you, Daniel Ramos, the budget director, they hired him from Baltimore.
Oh, cool.
And so the question is, do we want our county to look like Baltimore? This was the best that you could find at $400,000, was the former assistant budget director in the city of Baltimore. No, these are all people who know how to play the game, right?
Right.
And if we think about what happened where we had one employee who was working 2 jobs, we had the former tax assessor collector who didn't show up to work for 4 years and still collected a paycheck. So all of these salaries are totally out of line with what the average Harris County resident makes. And when we're talking about a new program like climate change or any of these other things, it's just another excuse to pad more positions with high-paid employees.
What's the name of the budget director? What's his name again?
Daniel Ramos.
Yeah, he's from Baltimore. Here's what I wonder if this happens in these interviews. Who hires him?
Do you think there's an interview?
Court.
Okay.
What's that?
Do you think there's a real interview, or do you think these people know people? Like, they have friends. It's like nepotism and favoritism and stuff like that.
I think it's incestuous, and I think there is an interview. And
Right.
the interview is, what contractors do you know that can contribute to campaigns?
There
That's
you go.
I don't know if that happens. I'm just throwing it out
I'm
there
sure
as
it
an idea.
does.
When they interview him, they're like, the guy comes from Baltimore. He's like, look, this is my spread of contacts I have in corporations.
Right.
We give little contracts out. They'll put some in your campaign coffers. We're all good to go, right? Is that how it works?
I can't speak to that case.
Yeah.
But nothing at this point would shock me.
Yeah.
But this did not exist under Republican leadership.
Right. It can't.
These salaries did not exist under Ed Emmett and Jack Cagle and the rest of them, right? This all came when we had the election in 2018 that brought Lena Hidalgo and a Democrat majority to Commissioner's Court. And then they further entrenched their majority when they had what I would consider to be an illegal redistricting where they flipped precincts 3 and 4, moving different commissioners into different precincts.
Yes.
I still question these machines that are like okay, you said that they passed the tax increases. Lena Hidalgo continues to get elected. There's certain districts where it's just accepted that the left's always going to win, and I'm wondering about these election machines. I don't know. That's a whole other subject, and I have.
And that's a great subject because I was actually told not to run in District 9. Don't worry about it. Democrats, it's a stronghold there. Everybody keeps saying, oh, well, just look at the data. Look at the data. Well, here's the deal. Okay. In these districts, where Republicans don't go, this is one of the biggest problem that the left, that people that typically vote Democrat, they're not actually Democrats. They just vote Democrat because that's who keeps showing up. Republicans not showing up in these areas is why they keep losing. And so because we're not making our presence known, we're not showing these people that we have care and compassion, they don't know us. They're like, we don't know you. Why should I vote for you? I don't know you. I've never seen you. We cannot run our elections from the outside of these districts. We have to actually be very well present and showing these people that we actually do give a crap about them, that we're not here trying to grift. They can tell that these people have been grifting for years, but their question, and this is what I keep coming into when I'm talking to people, why should I vote for you? Are you going to fix the potholes? Because this is literally the biggest, that's not even my job, that's not what I'm running to do, but I will make sure that I talk to the right people to get them fixed. I mean, what can I do? These people don't know what each of these positions are or what the jobs are, and they keep getting all their information from the Democrat. So the Democrat controls the narrative in these supposed strongholds, but the lack of presence of those on the right is not good. I mean, especially with the redistricting that's going on. We're seeing that in different counties, they've been districting based on race, and so these are like illegal
That's ridiculous.
It's absolutely crazy what's going on. Like, it's dangerous what's happening. And so, I'm telling you, what's getting ready to happen is they're getting ready to swing towards race. Like that's what the Democrats, because they have been in control of the narrative. So now they're getting ready to start pushing race issues. There's DEI in that same Rodney Ellis thing that we were talking about earlier. It talks about equity, equity, and that's part of DEI, okay? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That whole thing, that is all wrapped up and entangled in that.
Well, because I was talking to G2 this week about how I vote in Fort Bend County, and he says, "Oh, so you have no idea how you vote?" And I said, "Well, I take the little pointer. They give that soft tip. And by the way, that's propaganda right there. When I voted and they have that soft tip pen, that image on their I voted stickers or wherever, that is propaganda. That's selling the whole electronic voting methods.
It is.
Right? I want to go back to holes, punching holes, hanging Chaz. I'll take back hanging Chaz.
I don't like the Dominion machines myself.
No, but my point being is, he said, I was talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I press it and then it tallies and then it spits it out, and that's supposed to be my confirmation. Then I feed it into another machine. And he's like, yeah, but you don't know.
Right, you don't.
And that's a whole nother subject, so I'm going to put that out there as a subject to come on this show, because that's, whenever you bring up voting to anyone, like John Oldham in Fort Bend, he acts like you're off your rocker to question things, it's inappropriate to question voting. No, it's not. It's totally appropriate.
It's our right.
I want to go back to our local grandmas counting the votes.
I agree with that.
And not
too.
your machines.
Right. See, this is how they keep us. They want us to be dependent completely on electronics so they can control us. So when we all drive electric cars, everything is electric. Our voting machines are electric. They can make our grid go out and say, you can't vote today. You can't drive today. This quadrant can drive. There's a brownout over here. They do these things on purpose because they want to control us. The Democrat game is control. They are really big on controlling even like the minutia of how you think. This is why they push this legislation of morality. You cannot legislate morality. I mean, you can never, you're never going to eradicate racism, okay? It's never going to happen, ever, because respect of persons is always going to exist in people, in humans. So this is like a lost cause, but so much money gets from the government has been given to these individuals, these NGOs in America that are keeping the people bound and oppressed. Harris County is a shining example of oppression. You can see it. Looking out this window right now, you can see the oppression. You can see right now potholes and everywhere. You can barely go down certain roads. There's always road construction somewhere because there's potholes even on our highways. So I think, the priorities of people like Hidalgo and Ellis are really skewed. They have weird priorities when we need to prioritize these areas. Like you said, the 3 Ps. I think that was excellent. And it's a very simplified way to get the listeners to understand, without shoving a bunch of information at them. This is what they're supposed to be focused on, not DEI, not, the climate.
Well, we had Carol McCutcheon on this week, and she's running for mayor of Sugar Land, and we were talking about how the potholes sort of clear up the minute you go over the county line into Fort Bend, and I live right on the county line. I'm in Fort Bend on the Harris County line, and Sugar Land's a little bit south from there, so we were talking about how the roads are pretty good in Sugar Land, but my point being is the cancer spreads.
Yes,
and I think that we covered how that cancer spreads.
People get tired of it, they move out, but they bring it with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyle, I want to ask you.
Sure.
What's the state of Lena Hidalgo in the county judge race for Harris County?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that, because we have,
good question.
I mean, we're going to have a huge fight on our hands in 26, right?
Yeah.
Popcorn.
But Trump showed us really the pathway to victory.
That's the paradigm,
in a number
bro.
of respects,
Yes.
right? So we will have 3 commissioners' court races on the ballot in 2026.
Excellent.
Adrian Garcia in Precinct 2, Leslie Briones in Precinct 4, and then Lena Hidalgo. Trump won Adrian Garcia's district by 2 points and was within 3 points of Harris in Precinct 4.
Mm-hmm.
So with the right candidate with a smart enough strategy, we can win both of those precincts and the county judge race, right?
Absolutely.
Now, with the county judge in particular, right now we have, I think, who have filed 3 candidates on the Republican side. And there's a lot of talk on the Democrat side of Letitia Plummer, Armando Wally, and maybe some Anise Parker getting in to challenge Lena Hidalgo in the primary.
Yes.
I'm telling you this right now. I will block walk for Lena Hidalgo.
I know that's right.
She is the best opponent a Republican can face because the entire county right now is fed up with Lena Hidalgo.
Oh, they're done.
They know that she's Fruit Loops. They are tired of the direction of the county. And the other commissioners, other than Rodney Ellis, do not like her either.
Wait, so Rodney Ellis likes Lena Hidalgo?
Of course.
He's the puppet master, right?
Yeah. And so
She's a tax and spin just like he is.
And I'm being facetious about block walking for Lena Hidalgo.
I know that's
but
right.
I want Lena to have to face off against a Republican.
Absolutely.
Because she has 8 years of track record that we can show her failures.
Absolutely. Failures, yes.
Okay, so you went through the names quite fast.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying, at the beginning, who were the three names again? Name them again.
So in Precinct 2, you have the incumbent Democrat, Adrian Garcia.
Yes.
Okay, real quick. He's running for county judge?
No, I'm sorry. He's running for Precinct 2 commissioner.
Okay. Adrian Garcia, and he's a lefty.
He's a lefty, and then we have 2 Republicans going up against him in a primary.
There'll be a primary, so they will not split the vote against him in the general.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
good. And who are the Republicans going up against?
So
Adrian
it's
Garcia?
Raquel Bojorn and Richard Vega.
Okay.
Okay. Are they like? I am so sick of us getting lefty candidates. We have a slew of them in Fort Bend. They come in. Oh, this is our Republican. I'm like, just hand him over to the left. What is the quality of these candidates?
So Raquel's well funded. She's new to the political scene. I met with her personally. I even tried to trip her up. She's conservative. Her pathway to victory is going to be for her to determine. I met with Richard Vega. I've known Richard for a few years. He's a pastor down at CT Church off Fuquay and 45.
Nice.
Works very close with the Pasadena Police Department. I mean, his heart is for service, and he's a conservative.
And you're saying Trump won Adrian Garcia's
district by 2 points.
So there it is.
Yes.
Yep.
We're in good shape.
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay, District 2. Now, what's the next district you mentioned?
So Precinct 4 is the incumbent Leslie Briones. And we don't have a candidate there yet, but it is still early, and we'll get one there.
Did Trump win that one?
Trump was within 3 points.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. Someone's going to come.
Yes. Somebody will
Awesome,
come
man.
with those numbers. And then on the Democrat side, challenging Lena Hidalgo in a primary are former Mayor Anise Parker. And then there's talk of city council member.
My God.
Then there's talk of current council member Letitia Plummer, as well as current state legislature Armando Wally. But that's still talk at this point.
Is there any conservatives in that bunch?
So, no. But on the Republican side, we do have 3 confirmed candidates at this point.
Okay.
I anticipate more jumping in, but we have 3 confirmed
I'm sorry, I want to jump.
candidates. Yeah.
I agree with your comment. Lena Hidalgo has got to win that primary.
She has to win that primary.
Totally. If you block walking, we'll look the other way. That's fine.
Right.
That's fine. I totally agree with that.
But we have Oscar Gonzalez, who ran in the primary in 2022, former sheriff's deputy, really great guy. Warren Howe, just a great, solid businessman, solid conservative. And then we have Liza Dutt, who is the current Piney Point mayor. She's been in oil and gas. She has experience as a news reporter, and she has really come out very strong as well in the county judge race.
Excellent.
So it will be, and my favorite part about these candidates who are in the race right now, besides the fact that any of them can beat Lena Hidalgo,
Right.
is that they are running the right kind of race.
Right.
They are running on their ideas, putting their ideas out there, and not wasting time beating up each other.
That's right.
That destroys
That's
the party.
the best way to
we
do
need
that.
to beat up the Democrats. We just need to put our ideas to the voters in the primary
Yes.
and let them decide which of these ideas are best for them.
Yeah.
You said something earlier. You were talking about, when the people vote for the individual, the entire party needs to get behind that person.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem I think that the Republican Party is having, is not unifying and getting behind the choice.
Yeah.
Because of whatever, you don't like them, they're this, they're that. There's a lot of secret whisper talk going on behind the scenes. When the people make a choice, we need to honor that. Like the people that when they vote, that's their civic duty. We need to honor that and get behind the individual that they've chosen, whether we like them or not.
Yeah. I mean, in the primary, fight it out in the primary. And I will just say that those Democrats, as much as I do believe they are dying on a vine,
absolutely.
They are very well entrenched.
Yeah.
And they fight like hell.
Yeah.
So
They're going to fight dying. I mean, they're dying, they're shooting and everything.
yeah. And I think one of the deficits on our side is a lot of our people. people are newcomers, relative newcomers. And what Trump did in 2016 is unheard of because running a campaign is an experience, and our guys are coming in without that experience. And I think the Democrats will have everything in place, man. They'll have the cron pumping out the propaganda to support them. Everything will be in place for the Democrats, you know?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's an entire institution that's behind them. I mean, if you go right now and I wanted to put up a whole bunch of 4x8s over in Precinct 2 because I'm running for county clerk or something, right? Do you think those campaign signs are staying up?
No.
Nah, man, that's a Democrat. I got to put everything up in Precinct 3.
They're hiring somebody to watch those signs.
And, you know, when they're in bed with the League of Women Voters,
yes, they are.
Have all of these things going on where when you're an entrenched incumbent, there are advantages for elections. Right? And it carries over not just in having your name out there of these other things, but your tentacles have spread to all of these other organizations that will play to your favor, however subtly it may be.
Right. So much encroachment. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, guys, we're going to move to Congressional District 9. And
there you go.
We
Time
got
to shine.
We got one more commie that holds that position.
Our best friend in the world,
Al Green. God, the bad ideas keep coming from the Democrats. I'm going to read Al Green's quote. You don't wait until. Oh, this is with regard to him impeaching President Trump. Listen to the absurdity of this dude. Here's Al Green. Quote. You don't wait until tanks are rolling down the streets of American cities, unquote. Okay, I'm going to go on. Quote, it's too late then. You don't wait until you have what everybody will recognize as a constitutional crisis, because that can be the forerunner to tanks moving down the streets of American cities, unquote. So there's Al Green saying that we're going to see the Trump tank coming down 45. The MAGA tanks
it's going to hit a pothole and
45.
break the whole highway in half.
We'll have the pothole in place.
But I mean, before you get this kicked off, because this is your guy, right?
Right.
But look how far the Democrats have come to where under Barack Obama they were selling hope.
Yep.
Now they're selling fear.
I was going to say the same thing. This is just more fear mongering from the left. Oh, they're going to put you back in chains. I can see it now. This is where we're heading. Okay. Now you don't have to wait till there's tanks going down the street. Like, is he really serious? And the people are not buying it, though, when he says stuff like this, because he also mentioned the Constitution. But behind the scenes, people like him go into, we'll say black churches. They go into liberal churches, and they'll start saying, basically, they preach this message of anti-Constitution because they teach black people that the Constitution wasn't written for you. So you weren't even considered a whole person when the Constitution was written. So he'll say the Constitution in this tweet, but behind the scenes, he's teaching minority individuals that to be anti-Constitution. So when they hear Constitution, it's like when the right brings up the Constitution, they're like, Constitution's monstitution. They don't care about that because they've been taught that the Constitution was not written to them. So when he says something like that, he's cracking the Democrat whip as usual. They use fear-mongering. They use emotionalism through race. They get people to focus on their skin. Forget God, because that is not the party of God. That is the party of, hedonism. Do what I will. That's what they want to do. You can't stop me from doing what I want to do, but I can stop you from saying what you want to say. I can stop you from anything that you call yourself doing. So every time he uses the word Constitution, just know what he's doing. This is a dog whistle. This is what they call a dog whistle. He's telling black people and Latino people they don't care about you. They're going to kill you in your homes because the Constitution was not written for you.
I mean, fear is Satan's way.
Yes.
Fear and chaos.
Yes, absolutely.
Is the way of the demonic left.
Yes.
And when you look at the today's show, what is the more absurd idea? You have Rodney Ellis saying that storms are going to kill us, lightning bolts are going to kill us. And then you have Al Green saying that President Trump's going to drive a tank down here and kill us. And, again, it's just this fear-mongering, to your point. Which idea is more absurd? The Trump tank coming down 45 or lightning bolts taking us out?
I think the entire point of both of these is they're telling people the government needs to save you.
Yeah.
Right.
And the government can't save you if Trump is in office.
Right,
But
that's
you
what
need
they're
the
saying.
government to save you.
Right.
I mean, both of these ideas are equally absurd. This is like asking me to pick my favorite child. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Notice that they're not addressing any of the crime. You see that? It's like a sleight of hand technique. Oh, we're going to make this perfect world over here where we're all singing Kumbaya. Everything's so sustainable. Everything, you can have your home. Having a home is a right. But what they're not showing you, they're saying, look over here. Look at this shiny object we got over here. But don't look over here at the fact that you just lost your brother last night because he was shot 9 times. You can't go to a car wash over here because you're going to get shot. Your kids can't walk home from school because they have to be walked home by a police officer because your kids can get shot. You know, they're not talking about the crime, which is actually what they should be focusing on. So if you create this great new society where everybody's hunky-dory singing Kumbaya, so where do the murderers go? They just disappear all of a sudden? You know, where the carjackers go. I just saw a story about a man who killed somebody and just jumped in somebody's random car that, you know what I'm saying, trying to get away from police, carjacked another individual and shot them. Okay, that kind of stuff is what's happening in this district. Okay, so these types of things go on. They're not mentioning it at all. They don't care. They're telling them, go ahead and kill yourselves. Go ahead and off yourselves. We don't care. And while you're doing that, we're going to get this money over here. It's not coming to you.
Yeah.
It's coming over here. So all these people in this, you know, your home, you having a home is a right, and all of this junk. Oh, because they are catering to what they've already set up here. Emotional serfdom. These people are in subjugation to the Democrat Party. We have to break that.
You know, and what I think Trump showed us in the last election, and what his second election signaled to us, is things have gotten bad enough for people to take action.
That's right.
That things have gotten so bad that I'm willing to switch parties. I mean, Trump improved his in every demographic except for people with PhDs.
That's right.
Right? I mean, he improved across the board.
Absolutely.
Young men turned out at a record rate because he spoke to them.
Absolutely.
He's speaking to blacks and Latinos and
Yes.
Asians, and they all moved in his direction.
Yes.
Because people are recognizing that the same way that things have been done is not working for them.
It's not working.
And that it's not a self-interest thing either.
Right.
This is not the country that we came to. This is not the country we've grown up with to love. We need radical change to take us back to what we had been.
Yes.
Where it's limited federal government, where it's
Yes.
powers of community,
Yes, yes.
where we're taking out the layers of bureaucracy, where we have a dozen people making $400,000 a year salaries. We need to strip all of these things away
gotta go.
and return power to the people.
Return it to the people.
Trump was a signal that the country's ready to move in that direction.
Absolutely.
I think that the grassroots movement is having tremendous success.
Yes.
And I think that right now there's an infiltration movement happening where the left sort of knows that these ideas are dying.
Yes.
And so what they now have to do is they have to come up within the Republican Party and
Yes.
sort of infiltrate it,
Subversive.
put people in charge of it that are impotent, right? They're benign. They can't get anything done, and stop it.
Yes.
That's what I see. I see that happening right now, and I'm going to fight like heck to make sure that doesn't happen because I don't want another decade of cronies controlling us. When these people become household names, they are so hard to beat out of that office.
Yeah, they are. And they know it.
Yeah. So I see that as a problem. When is the next set of elections?
So we are actually in the midst of an election right now.
Yes,
so
we are.
we have a runoff election going on in Pasadena.
Yes.
And the HCRP endorsed candidate Thomas Schoenbein is on the ballot. And voting is today, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, that's local Pasadena
That's local
elections.
Pasadena
Yes.
elections.
What about for Harris County? What about that?
So Harris County, just more in general, we are going to have a series of school board
and I know
elections.
you have to know
I
Pasadena
know.
elections, but for us, man, that's
Yeah,
a
that's
35-minute
way far
drive.
away. Yeah. No, so across the county.
I love that area, Pasadena,
I love
LaPorte.
Pasadena.
I love that area over there.
The movie Conway Twitty was
Conway Twitty.
the Urban Cowboy. Was
Urban
that
Cowboy,
Urban
yeah.
Cowboy.
John Travolta.
Yes.
Over there at
Man,
Gillies.
I remember I was like 8 years old when I watched that movie, and I wanted to go to Pasadena, Texas, immediately.
Yeah.
I do love Pasadena. When you get to Pasadena, you start to smell the ocean air, and it just makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in
Love that
Harris
area.
County, so 2025 in November, we're going to have a number of school board races, including Cy-Fair ISD, as well as Houston ISD and Houston Community College are
Yes.
going to be the most prominent races that are up.
Okay, on Houston ISD, do we have what is the makeup of the board right now?
Well, this is very complicated. So we do have two very solid Republicans there.
Yes.
But if you would remember a few years ago, the state came over and took over
Yes, they did.
HISD. And so the current board members are still board members, but they're not sitting board members. So they're sitting custodians who were appointed by a special commission that the governor appointed.
Oh, wow.
So this election, now they're going to start phasing in some of the elected members and start phasing off these appointees. And we have Bridget Wade is for sure in. She's made it known that she's running for re-election. The others haven't really known. We're right now in the process of recruiting candidates to make sure that we have somebody in every race on the ballot.
That's important. We need to get strategic
And-
about this stuff.
Because it is run by the state, that means that local. I met one of these guys. He basically was appointed by the state to run the school district or something of
Yeah.
that sort. How does that work? What does that mean?
So essentially, you have an appointed superintendent, and then instead of an elected board, there was a committee put together to appoint a board. And so they serve the same function as an elected board, except they're not elected. But their duties and responsibilities are effectively the same.
Yeah.
So what does the elected board even have? What say do they have in things?
Nothing right now.
They're just
Nothing
figureheads.
at all.
No authority.
Yeah, nothing right now.
And how long will the state hold over the schools last?
We're expecting for it to phase out gradually over the next 2 years. So like replace two now and then replace it. So it will be a gradual phase
It
out.
is it's a
Yes.
term.
Well, it didn't start out as a term; it's indefinite. But now we're starting to see, and the the governor's made clear, like this is not going to go on forever. We're probably looking at a 2 to 3 year horizon.
Interesting.
And you said Harris County Community College.
Houston Community College. Yes.
Okay, Houston Community
Yeah.
College. Tell me about that election.
So this is extremely low turnout. In fact, Sean Chabin, one of our former SDs in Harris County, Sean Chabin was elected to Houston Community College last time around.
Yes.
In not a very red area, because nobody had an opponent, right?
Right.
Like these are extremely low turnout elections.
Right.
So, the ones that are up right now are in extremely blue areas. But we're going to see turnout of 1% to 2%.
Right.
Which means if you just turn out a large Irish Catholic family, you're going to
Right,
swing this thing,
right. I was
right?
gonna say, that's not really that
You
hard.
don't need that many voters to get out. You just have to get active. And
That's it.
that's the job of the Republican Party is
That is.
first and foremost to identify candidates, get those candidates on the ballot,
Right.
and then do everything we can to support them.
That's right.
But the Harris County Republican Party isn't just those in the office.
Right.
It's the precinct chairs. It's
Right.
the
It's
grassroots. It's
everybody.
the clubs,
Yes.
making sure that they're motivated doing the phone banking. I mean, right now, I know that Pasadena's on the other side of the county, but we have people in Cy-Fair phone banking in there.
That's right.
Because they know how important Pasadena is to winning Precinct 2 and
That's
defeating
right.
Adrian Garcia in
That's
November
right.
26th.
That's right.
So it's going to be important for us to show that we can win in Democrat precincts with
Yes.
enough elbow grease and effort, right? So that's why these races are really, really important in November 25.
We've got to bring more awareness to local elections and show the people how important our local politics are because they're so worried about the federal stuff. I think people have lost sight of what we elect these individuals to do. And so we've got to energize people to get out and vote more because a lot of these, even, like congressional elections, like I think it's only 8% of my district of 750,000 people even vote in this election. So and then, prior it was uncontested. So we can energize people to vote. It's a thing. You can do that. I mean, it's possible. There's just nothing, there's no momentum, there's no push to do that. Like, where's the impetus to push these people to vote, get them out there? MTV used to have Rock the Vote. Remember that? It was just so important, but learn how to market local elections in a proper way. We've got the millennial base. We've got Gen Z that's voting now. We need to amp these people up and get them energized. They need to understand how important these elections are to their actual daily lives.
Well, that's a great way to close this out, Alexandria. So I appreciate that. Well, guys, it's been a great hour. I appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You filled us up with information on the state of Harris County, and I look forward to see. I think get the popcorn out. This is going to be an insane election.
It's going to be great.
I can't wait. I love it. And Alexandria, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks
I know
for having
you've
me,
got
Chris.
a big race coming up.
Huge.
You've got your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do appreciate.
We're
that.
working.
Yeah. And thank you guys, and thank you everyone. Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. We will be back Saturday, 10 a.m. with one more hot topic.